Hello and welcome to the first of my vlogs on coronavirus updates from China. A few of you said that you really find it interesting and informative, so I thought I'd try and do this every day. Now, the latest updates from China are a lot on travel, bans and lifts, and restrictions because obviously it's changing very rapidly. There's a lot of concern about imported cases of infection as the domestic cases of new infections drop to almost zero, and actually for a few days it did drop to zero. The cases coming from abroad of infections are increasing rapidly, so airports have taken various measures to stop those infections getting into the main population and reinfecting everyone, something that's known as second wave if it becomes a significant enough a thing. The most severe restrictions in terms of international flight has been Beijing since Monday. 12 cities in China are being the gatekeepers of the capital. So if you have a direct international flight into Beijing, you don't actually directly go to Beijing. You are funneled off to one of 12 places. You come off the plane, you're checked, your temperature checked, you have a health
It's
assessment.
11 o'clock.
You do a questionnaire about where you came from, who you're in contact with. It's called contact tracing, so that if something happens to you, they know exactly where you were sitting on that flight, and they can tell those people if you later on get infected. An example is somebody I spoke to yesterday who flew from London to a city in China, and on that flight, which was completely packed, and actually flights from the UK to China are sold out. On that flight, after they got off, they had to fill these forms in about where they were sitting, where they were going, who they'd been in contact with in the 2 weeks. So there were two people that then, as a result of the nucleic acid testing coming off the plane, were confirmed to have coronavirus. And as soon as that was confirmed, the person I spoke to who was in quarantine got a text message telling her that because she was 4 rows away, that she was moderate risk, and that what that meant was that she needed to stay put and potentially have retests. And the quarantine center that she's in is actually giving her more to make sure that she's clear, and they're keeping a track of all of those records where she goes next, so that if she gets infected, they can then tell the people that she comes into contact with. And it's been proven to be really effective, this contact tracking, which is something that the West, for example, the UK, are not doing. There was one New York Times article which basically said that 50% of the job to make sure you contain the virus is in social distancing, which is worrying because the UK has not quite got that right yet. So the social contact in China, what that's meant, and the reason why it's so draconian and effective, is that in China, you've got all this information. If you're infected, you are isolated. Those people around you, and in a lot of cases, because they have the data, those people around you and those people you have been in contact with for the last 14 days are informed, and in some cases mandatorily isolated. It's not a real kind of advanced science. It's brick and mortar. You isolate those people, and once you have that tracking in place, you're able to tell those people. And the problem with, for example, what the UK is doing, you can walk out of any UK international airport right now and not declare where you're going, not have a temperature test, any kind of tracking information. So if you do get infected 5 days down the line, and potentially you had infected all those people around you on the plane, they won't know. And there's no system for them to then self-isolate, or for the NHS to tell people your risk is higher. Now, in terms of China itself, Hubei province has been at the center of the whole coronavirus outbreak. And for the last 2 months, until Tuesday, it's been in lockdown, which means nobody could leave or enter the province. Now, that ban was lifted on Tuesday, So all the cities and towns except Wuhan. Wuhan is the epicenter city of coronavirus in China. Over 90% of cases came from within the city. So Wuhan city won't have its ban lifted until April the 8th. So that's a week and a half away. The rest of the province are slowly able to go, but you have to apply for a permit to leave. You can't just get out. You've got to show that you are healthy, you haven't got the virus. And the first 800 people left yesterday, and they arrived in Beijing